Today is February 12th. 12th. This week I have a few extra days working than usual. Hopefully that will stay consistent. But, forgot what I was saying. I don't know. I'm not in a deep thought mood. I'm not thinking deeply at all. All I have done today is dream about the future. Because my thought process, me thoughts, that if I'm a truck driver and I don't need to have a home, if I'm a long distance truck driver, I should say, because there are some people that still drive trucks for a living, but they basically just drive, for the one day, and by the end of the day, they're back home. So people who spend, weeks, maybe even months on the road in different states, basically living in their truck, that's why they have showers here. I don't really need a household. But truck drivers, on average, still get paid the kind of income that can own a household, $90K annually, on average salary. And that's definitely enough to afford rent. It's also definitely enough to afford a down payment after a year or two. I mean, $90K down payment is pretty huge if you save up for a full year, but obviously you can't save up every dime for a full year. But the thought process is, if I buy a house for that down payment, I don't actually need to live on it, so I can immediately rent it out. And even then, since I still have my own day job, I don't actually need to make the rent higher than the mortgage. If anything, I can make their rent $200, some flat rate below the mortgage payment, and then I will cover up the rest of the mortgage payment with my own money. And then, bada bing, bada boom, by the time the house is paid off, I don't actually have to add any more. I don't have to increase rent or anything. I don't have to change rent at all. Now, they were already paying below what they needed to actually mortgage the house. But now, all of that is going straight into my pocket instead of going straight to the mortgage. Because, of course, I also want to make as many... Wow, your truck is loud, dude. Damn. It's pretty loud. I don't have to make as many payments. I can just make more payments with the principal balance. Since I have nothing else to spend my money on. I also thought of a lot of things. Thought of a company that I've wanted to start for a while. And by a while, I mean like maybe 3 years. I don't know where to start. I guess I should start with blueprints, because it's going to be rather complex. Or I guess not complex. I guess actually in its essence it's simple. But it's going to be a big 7th, 8th wonder of the world. Bigger than the Bass Pro Shop pyramid. Actually, maybe. I don't know how big the Bass Pro Shop pyramid is. I've never been there. I actually want to go to a Bass Pro Shop pyramid. Super, super poorly. No, I don't. I just want to swim in the tank. I just want to go in the tank. The swimming in the tank is super cool. Dude, man, being out there and scuba diving and swimming with the fishes is amazing. It's wonderful. Trust me. I've been there. I've done it. If you've ever been to the Georgia Aquarium, you'll know that you can spend a lot of money to dive in their big thing with whale sharks. Their big exhibit with whale sharks. And all sorts of different sharks. And I did it, and I loved it. It was an amazing, wonderful experience. And a lot of people were obsessed with just kind of... The only slight downside I had to it was that I wasn't supposed to be... I didn't have to go too far away from my partner. I wasn't allowed to be too far away from your partner, Two people have to stick together when they're diving, no matter where they go. And with me, I was going with my mother, who is terrified of sharks. There are a lot of sharks in there. And when I say terrified, I mean phobia, terrified fear. She cannot so much as look at a picture of a shark without eliciting an extreme reaction. She can't hear the theme to Jaws without having some kind of reaction. She's mortified by sharks. So we had a lot of different discussions because we were taking a road trip cross country, and we would probably never be back there again. And there's a lot of different things. It was the main gist I'm getting at. She joined me for it. I don't remember what the conflict with her joining. The conflict was with me doing it at all because it's expensive. And we didn't always have that kind of money. We don't have that kind of money, not really. Well, we had because we had sold everything and decided to move across the country. Everything except the cats. And most of our furniture. We sold our house and moved across the country. Which makes me very, very, very sad. And one day I wish to buy that house again, because that was very significant to my mother, as at the time she was in her late 50s or mid 50s, early 50s, one of those. She's in her 50s. And it's the first place she ever truly lived to her own. Everywhere else, she lived at her parents' house, she lived in an apartment, she lived, I think, at a husband's house, at her husband's, with her husband. This was the first place she could truly call her own. And I, out of the blue, decided I'm moving across the country. Wasn't necessarily out of the blue, but it was pretty quick. I only really thought about it for a week. Kind of. The idea to move here started several years ago, many, many years ago, when I was in middle school. And the final decision was just made now. Well, recently. And my mother said, well, there's nothing for me back here anymore. All of my kids are in a different state. I don't get along with the family that's here. She said, well, if you're moving away, I'm going to sell my house and I'm going to go live with my sister in California. And so that's what she's doing. And my greatest fear was that she would make this decision because it's honestly entirely my fault. If I had decided to stay, I would have stayed. If I had decided to stay, we never would have sold it. But I was stuck in a mental and emotional dead end. I had no free time to do as I wished. All I could do was think, as I am doing now, except it was 24 hours a day, 6 days a week. Because 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week, not even the kind of work that requires thought, something you can just do while you're on autopilot. So I thought, and I thought, and I thought. And while talking about this with one of my friends, I realized that as long as I'm being paid well, I don't care. I don't seem to care how I'm treated. I don't seem to care if I actually have value. And I hated that. Because it was true. Which is why I moved away on such a almost immediate occasion. Because I realized that had I settled in, I would truly settle and I would never reach for greatness. As my mom said, if I want to get... I don't remember the exact words she said, but I should burn the bridge while I'm on it. There's probably a analogy? What's the proper term? Things like if you throw a stone into a pack of dogs, the one that yelps is the one you hit. Something like that. Anagram? I don't remember the exact word. I think it starts with an A. I think it starts with with an A sound. Anagram, analogy, something of that like. Something of the like. Something of the sort. So there's one of those in there, burn the bridge while you're still on it, force you to the other side. I don't know. I'm not an anagram kind of creative. But the point is, I had to force it out of me. I had wanted to come here for a while, and it's not anything against my mother. It's just that my mother's side of the family is a lot like I was. We are constantly satisfied with whatever we have at the moment. It's okay. It's satisfactory. Whereas family over here, I hate to say it in case they hear this one day, but I feel much less welcomed here in terms of family. I feel much less, it's much less consistent. But it's just, I have to acknowledge that it's just different, because my mother helped show love in a way of what you're doing is enough, and what you're doing is good, and you're doing what you can. And one of my father and stepmother's way of showing love is you can do better. You can be better. And that's a wonderful way of showing love if you need to grow, like I do, which is exactly what I needed, which is exactly why I came here. But after being so used to you're okay with what you are, you're okay with you're okay as how you are, it at times, not even at times, all the time, every single time, it feels more like I'm being put down than being brought up. It's only after the conversation passes that I look back and I realize, well, obviously, not trying to put me down, just trying to bring me to be all that I can be, which is another beautiful form of love and care. And it's exactly what I needed. I didn't need, you're okay with what you are. I needed, you can be better. You can do better. You can do more. Because I can. And it's always nice to be able to go back to that kind of embrace of you're all right, just the way you are. But it's a necessary balance between comfort and being pushed forward. It is a balance. Some people will tell you that you should just be comfortable how you are and that's how you should live your life. Some people will tell you that you should constantly, forever push to be better. I don't think either of those are accurate. You need a balance. You need to be able to accept where you are and what you are and how you are and all of the sort, while also being able to push yourself forward. You cannot constantly push yourself forward. In analogy, imagine it's similar to sleeping. One person says, get plenty of sleep, 10, 12 hours of sleep, whereas you rest, your body heals, your muscles grow, and it gives you more energy so you can do more the following day. While the other says, the less sleep you get, the better. Get 4 or 5 hours of sleep, and then you have much more time throughout the day to do something. Of course, both of these are wrong, and the actual ideal is to get a nice medium. 8, 9 hours of sleep, sometimes 10, depending on the day. Sometimes you need a little sleep, sometimes you need a lot of sleep. It just depends on the moment. It just depends on the day. And self-image is a lot like that. Sometimes you should never always be okay with yourself or never be okay with yourself. You need to strike a balance between realizing that where you are is okay and realizing that you can be more. Realizing that you must be more and realizing that you must stay the same is a completely different conundrum, question, thought process. There's never been this many cars at this intersection before. And you're turning that way, so I'm just gonna rush. Because that person's also turning that way. Okay, done rushing. That's a lot, what's going on? That is interesting. They're all coming out of either CrossFit or this dentistry that's right here. The point is, maybe I need to give my mom a call. Because I haven't spoken to her in a bit. Not anything out of malice or anything. I just don't recall to talk to people. I often don't make the active effort to speak to people, which results in, during the school years, back when I would spend my summers over here with my father and my dad, and in the school year, over there with my mom, I would go months on end without talking to my dad. Again, not out of malice, not out of dislike or anything. Love my dad. Love the guy. Love the man. I just don't reach out to people. I just don't. I'm not sure why. It's just not part of what I do. There's probably a few friendships that could be much stronger and much greater right now had I just consistently reached out. I can confidently say only once have I constantly reached out to someone. That didn't go over too well, but again, it wasn't an effort to reach out to them. It just happened. I just wanted to know what was happening in their day. I just wanted to know how they were thinking, what they were doing. I just wanted to know she was okay. All the time. All the time. I just wanted to know. I wanted to be near her all the time. Constantly. And so she was the only person that I had actively reached out to consistently without a shred of thought. Without forcing myself. I just would wake up and ask how she slept. Before I went to sleep, I would ask how her day was. At random points in time throughout the day, I would ask how she's doing. If she was doing something, I would wait a few hours and ask her how it went. Every other person, every interaction, I hesitate incredibly to make every single decision and to speak every single word. But for some reason, not with her. It wasn't an effort. It wasn't anything. It was an effort to avoid being overly, I can't think of the word, but, just being there all the time in front of her. Can't remember the word. Is clingy the right word I'm talking about? But I don't think it's the word. Hovering. It was a work not to hover. I think that's the word. I guess it's more of a term than the proper word. So obviously I'm not hovering, but people understand the terminology when I say the word hover. I just constantly wanted to know how she was doing. I don't remember how I got here, and I don't know where to go with this. I don't know. I really don't. Haven't spoken to her in a while. I hope she's doing all right. Because one way or another, one reason or another, she had been done with it. It's not like this was a relationship. This wasn't a breakup. She was just a very good friend of mine. And she became the kind of person that I hate. And I became the kind of person that she hated. It was a really taxing experience on me mentally. And psychologically, I guess, because when you say mentally, people think depression or anxiety, something that induces sad thoughts, but it was psychologically. It messed with my brain, with my thought process, with how I think of other people, with how I think of myself and my own capabilities. It had done a bit of damage. Or maybe no damage at all. Maybe it helped me become something new, someone new. Someone new. Every different event in an individual's life helps mold them into something different. Do you understand that? Every experience, I can't even say every moment or every memory, I can say every experience, because at some point in time, I don't remember what, people did not believe that babies could feel pain. Doctors did not believe that babies could feel pain. I don't remember when this was, probably a while ago. So, worst case scenario, if a baby or child had to have surgery, or in apparently the specific case that I read about, open heart surgery, often they would not be put under anesthetic because babies scream and cry. How painful could a baby's being? At the time, it might have made sense. You know, babies come out of the womb screaming, and there's nothing painful around that, except for reality, since all of their lives so far have been in their mother's womb. So just about everything could be extremely painful and different and weird, which to something not emotionally developed at all, that'll make you cry. Out of pain, out of feeling, out of everything. It'll make you cry. So it wasn't too far of a stretch to believe that babies didn't feel pain, and that the nerves developed later on in life. Doesn't really make sense when you think about it today, but if you're clever enough, you can kind of begin to understand what they may have been thinking. If you're clever enough to put yourselves in the shoes of the people who are not clever, I suppose. They're still doctors. But the point is, they would perform open heart surgeries on these babies without anesthetic. And of course they're babies, so as they grow up, they don't remember these events. But that extreme, wretched pain as a baby traumatizes them. And so we had these group of children with extreme trauma, with absolutely no memory, no concept of what could have caused it. They're just scarred, but they don't remember the wound. That's why every experience, and not necessarily a memory, molds people. And it goes contradictory to what I originally believed, because I personally struggle with memory incredibly, to a vast degree. I have points in time where I do not remember who I am. Not in a sense of my name necessarily, not in a Alzheimer's kind of sense, not in a dementia kind of forgetting who I am, but I forget friends that I've made. I forget places that I've been or things I've said. I forget my very own life. And because of this, I often don't know who I am or who I'm supposed to be. Because your memories mold who you are. That's also why people who have Alzheimer's not the example I'm looking for, people who have amnesia can often develop entirely different personalities as they begin to form new memories. Because all their old memories were lost, and they begin to become a new person. However, that thing with the babies, with the open heart surgery, people being scarred for something they don't remember. See, and they couldn't hope to remember. They couldn't try to remember. You were a baby. Absolutely no chance on earth you would remember. So my thought is then, it must be your experiences, and every experience makes a different you, a new you. There is a completely different me for everything I had and had not experienced. Had maybe one bad day gone well, maybe one particularly good day instead was a bad day that could shape who I am today and thus make an entirely different form of me. You may notice this is going on longer than usual, and that is because I deleted a lot of pictures off of my phone, so I should have a lot more storage. Some pictures I will dearly regret losing, but they were pictures I should have deleted at some point anyway, so that I may move on from my past. From the past I barely remember. So it can't just be your memories, it must be all experiences.